Welcome to the Eagle Eye Podcast. The #1 show to bring you all things Club America and English.
Oh, what a strike! Club America!
Your hosts for today are Ivan Pineda, Cristian Rosendo, Alexis Juarez, and everyone's favorite cowboy, Dylan Jimenez. Goal! Now let's hit the field and start the show.
America! Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of the Eagle Eye Podcast. Welcome to our Lady Aguilas podcast here, where we're going to talk all things America Femenil, and where we're going to be recapping that 2-2 draw against Tigres in the Estadio Azteca, and we're going to be previewing the upcoming match on the road away at Hidalgo against Pachuca. Of course, joining me as always, it is my late co-host for today. It is none other than Mr. AJ himself, young Arnie in the building. AJ, how are we doing, my friend?
Doing good. No aerobic training for me today because unfortunately, my body was in pain, so I had to just take a break. But I did do some yoga. I'm good now, and here I am getting ready for Pain Central as always.
Pain Central, because this matchup was perfectly set up for America Femenil to walk away with 3 points, but two clumsy mistakes ultimately lead to 2 penalties that Tigres slots in the back of the net. We'll talk about the brilliant performance of Renata Masciarelli, and we'll talk about what you saw out on the pitch. I know you covered this game for us, and maybe what you saw that proves maybe, bright for the future of America Femenil coming into these last couple of games to close out the season, and maybe things that we still need to work on and maybe should still fear leading into the playoffs for America if and when we do make it. But all right, AJ, let's talk America Femenil in regards to what happened at the Estadio Azteca this Monday. Tigres was a game that we did not preview, unfortunately, but it is a game that we all talked about coming into this one, because we knew that this was going to be an important test for our ladies. We didn't know whether or not this was going to be a game in which we were going to get kind of the best of our ladies, or we were just going to be a game where we ultimately, get demolished by a team because the ladies don't show up for this one. Where do you think the team lied in between those kind of two areas?
We were in between good and bad, because this was a game where I feel like America this is one of the games this season where they played with heart. They really actually wanted to prove at their home stadium at the Estadio Azteca that they can defeat these. And these have been in a bit of a slump recently. And I feel like America fans were taking advantage of it. Despite with the amount of opportunities that these Femenil have been given, our defense was playing well. Especially Renata Masciarelli, she was going completely off, just making every single save that at any shot that was given at her, she would block it or save it. And it just felt like she never really lost her touch, despite being away from the pitch for a good month or so. Just never lost it. She was on her A game throughout that entire night. And it was just great to see, despite the 2 penalties that did happen, which we'll get into in a bit. Just all in all, if you just take those out of the way, she was just amazing. The team, all in all, everyone was doing well. I feel like there was a silly mistakes that was happening on the pitch. I think should not have happened. And I feel like because of that, the win that we had just got away from our hands and ultimately ended up in a draw.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the ladies are going to be a little bit gutted by the fact that they weren't capable of walking away with all 3 points in this one. But I think there are things to kind of applaud here, right? Like you said, mentioned the return of Masciarelli, the fact that these ladies were mostly on their A game for the majority of this matchup. The little bit that I was able to capture, I think we moved the ball around pretty well. We know this Tigres team knows how to press. We know that they definitely like to have the ball as well. So the fact that we did a very good job at balancing things out, I think definitely spoke highly of these ladies. I know Renata Masciarelli is going to take all credit for this, but in regards to a player that stood out that isn't the goalkeeper, what player do you think really had a game that you were just like, okay, this is good, this is what I wanted to see, and this is more coming of what's to happen in the later end of the season?
Monica Rodriguez, no doubt about it. Capi, as I like to call her, she was just amazing throughout the entire Tigres games. There was a moment in the game where Tigres were going to potentially score the game-winning goal to give the lead, and Monica was there just in time to sweep the ball right out of that area that led to a corner kick for Tigres, but that ultimately came out of nothing for the away side, which is great to see. And Monica, she's just been all over the pitch. There was a point where I'm pretty sure she swapped places with Selena Valera, where she took the right or she was at the right back position and Monica to the left back position, and just made her way to that final third and created a play. She nutmegged Tigres defender, and it was actually almost able to get a shot. Was able to get a shot on target, but just unfortunately was able to not put the ball into the back of net to score her first goal. But just all in all, she just did a really good job through that entire game. It's 23 close passes, 82% on her precision passes, which is really good. She recovered 11 of the balls that ended up on her side, which is amazing. Which is just amazing just to see from a right back in America Femenine. When you think of a right back, you're usually just seeing them stay in that right side position just to prevent any winger from getting into their area. But then it just seemed like she doesn't feel like playing as a right back at that point. She's just like, I want to be like a winger. I'm going to go up front and see if I can find anyone. And that's what she was doing, really. And that's great. And with the 8 rejects that she had in the game as well, she just wasn't allowing anyone to try to get past her. So she keeps doing what she usually does best, and that's being one of the great right backs in this league and the best right back in America Femenine.
No, yeah, I applause to her and merit to everything that you just said, because I think she had quite the exceptional game. Let's talk a little bit more about these goals that we not only scored but concede. Right? I think we get off to a good start. We scored the first goal. But then again, AJ, there seems to be a lapse in concentration. The fact that we aren't able to kind of secure a lead for much more longer than we want to, because I think that penalty is just minutes after we score, and so that's the most frustrating thing about it. How did you see the first half in regards to that sense? Because I know we went to the break 1-1 to both teams. First talk to me a little bit about the goal that America scored, and then maybe talk about the mistakes leading up to the penalty.
It just seemed like all in all, both teams were just going right at it, swapping chances between one another. So a player would get a shot, it gets blocked. Another player gets a shot, and then it gets blocked. Occasionally, at some point, the ball ended up in the back of the net, which was the case for America, which is great. But then just right after that, like you mentioned, we cannot hold on to the team. We do. We commit a silly mistake, like the Eva Gonzalez mistake that happened in around the 36-minute mark for America Femenine. It just was a really bad tackle all in all that ended up a penalty for Tigres. And knowing how they are, they converted the penalty into a goal, and it's just basically back to square one again. It seems like just when we thought we figured out how to stop Tigres, we make a silly mistake, we give them the momentum back, and then it's like, okay, now how are we going to score again? In what way? Is it going to be in the same fashion, or we're going to do it in different fashion? And that's what it was, a back and forth battle between these two teams like that. Yeah.
And ultimately, it led to a good game, It led to a real good, entertaining game, especially for neutrals. They got to see 4 goals in total. They got to see 2 good teams going at it. But I think from an America perspective, we're a little bit gutted that we weren't able to walk away with all 3 points. I think we definitely had some chances, although I think Tigres were on top of us at times with some of their opportunities towards the latter stages of the game. But I mean, pretty much positive things to take away from this. But I think the one thing that will continue to be a negative is these kind of mistakes in the back that have cost us yet time and time again. In the season where we thought we were going to have probably one of the best defenses in the league, but it goes to show you that it's not as simple as just putting 2 good players together in one position and then hoping for everything else to kind of fall into place. There's kind of have to be more than just that to the formula. But talk to me about a player that you think maybe was a letdown this matchup, that did not step up in the moments that she needed to, and just maybe ultimately was probably not the best player out on the pitch.
Ooh, if anything, it's Gas Cuevas, really. I felt she's just a shell of her former self. She's not the same player that we saw in the past seasons where you would see her as the reliable second goal scorer in this team or the second in command behind whoever was going to be on that page. If Dani isn't scoring goals, expect to see Gas to be the one says, I got you, I'll get the goal in for us. But just feel like since in that midfield position where it feels like we're playing like a 4-4-2, and it's just playing like she's playing that CDM role, even though it does not look like it. She just isn't the same. It just feels like some of that excitement that we once saw, the explosiveness in Gas Cuevas, it just seems to just disappear. Like that fire just kindled. It's no longer there. It just feels like she isn't like a regular star as we used to see anymore. She just comes off the bench, if we need that extra boost of offense, or if there's a time we need to relax someone in the midfield, whether it be Jennifer Munoz, Maya Pelayo, whoever else can just be in midfield, we just slot in Casa and we hope for the best until we decide, okay, she's tired, let's substitute her. She isn't the same. I just really don't know what's happening with her. This season, by far, I'd say it's probably the worst season she's had in an America uniform, and it's just sad to see.
Yeah, definitely, because she was always, kind of the most lethal player that we had. And I know you mentioned Danny and all that stuff, but I think Gaz also brought a lot of explosiveness to this attack. And then I think, once you slot her into that midfield, a lot of that explosiveness kind of goes away. And maybe she just has yet to find that footing. And credit, to her for even trying it. And let's be honest, AJ, that is not her position at all, right? That's not what she was playing. That's definitely not the position we know that she can perform at 100%. And yet again, it's Cuellar playing musical chairs here. And for some reason, just for some of the most oddest reasons, continues to stick her in that position, which I think still to this day baffles a lot of us. I think it's just become a norm, but that's kind of a disappointment because we know the potential she could be if she was up top with Danny Espinosa. But now that we mentioned Leo Cuellar, and he was in the hot seat, of course, because of the result prior to Tigres, So, overall thoughts on Cuellar? Is it still #fuera Cuellar? Do you think that he maybe planted this right? Maybe he just got a bit unfortunate with some of the mistakes that were made, or what did you think about Cuellar in this one? Do you think he's starting to turn it around, or do you think that it's still #fuera Cuellar?
Still for the Cuellar out. You took the 71st minute to make a substitute when you really felt like a player like Dalia Moniz should not be on the pitch. She's 5'1". All those other Tigres defenders are like, 5'8". They're going to just completely obliterate her. If it's a set piece, she cannot fight off. If it's on a 1v1, hope to God it's not any one of those defenders. Funny enough, it's all the defenders are right there because she'll get shrugged off like no tomorrow. And I feel like they don't need to hip check her. They just have to place their body up front and that's it. She cannot go around them. So I don't know why it took that long to make a substitute. And I feel like that Amelia, I think she's only there because we need to fulfill our youth requirements, which I'm pretty sure that's what the case is. But even everyone just questioned why she's starting. Why don't we have another player like like Daniela Flores or someone that could just fill in that spot? But that just doesn't seem to be the case. He just wanted to put someone else to give him the opportunity to play, and I'm just like, yeah, it doesn't cut it. What makes it worse, though, there was no players like Daniela Flores or Maya Pele that could play up front, or no Fernanda Piña, because we actually even had no forwards in this game. The closest we had to a forward is Renata Huerta, who, if I'm not mistaken as well, is another youngster. She's only 17 years old. We put her out towards the very end, but it's just wondering, like, we're coming into the game with no forwards in it, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, we had to put Vero Perez as our forward, and that's like she could technically play that position a bit, but it's not the ideal position you want to see her playing in. So I'm understanding what's going on with Cuellar, and just the fact that we could have beaten this Tigres side, and silly mistakes like that costed us. And it's a shame because then as well, when you're looking front, there was no Katy Martinez at that Tigres side, and that's their most deadliest players. Yes, this is still a strong Tigres side. I feel like just because one of their lethal players is gone, we can take advantage of that. And it wasn't the case. Where our downfall really was, it's ourselves. It felt like we lost against ourselves in this match. And Cuellar couldn't, and Cuellar, I feel like, couldn't fix those errors, and he could just not fix those errors. I don't know, give a thought to one, just don't commit silly fouls, like as you mentioned, from time and time again. Just when we think we're defeating a very top opposition, we do a silly foul. It costs us the match, and then we lose momentum. Like a throwback to that Rayadas match from last season where Janae committed 2 silly mistakes back-to-back. And at that point, it essentially costed us the win against Rayadas, and that ultimately gave us our loss. And if I go back to, it was maybe 2 years ago when we were playing at home against the same Rayadas team, we were leading. We did silly defensive mistakes, and ended up costing us our lead at home, and we will ultimately fall away over there in Monterrey. It's just frustrating to see because at this point, just when we think things are going to turn around, it feels like in some way we just happen to slip up at the end, and it's just back to square one. And then comes to the conclusion, fuera Collar. And I feel like it's going to be like that throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's going to paint it any different kind of light anytime soon. And I think Jacob said it, still hashtag fuera Collar here. Rightfully so. I think you mentioned that. I think America shot themselves in the foot, and you expect your manager to be able to fix a situation like that. But you mentioned that some of these substitutions were very much doubtful. Why didn't we have the arsenal up top to be able to combat this? Why were we? I mean, at this point, it is our own fault that we haven't gotten the minutes in for the youngsters, and now we're feeling the pressure. So it's like now you got to throw them in there in games where really you should be running at full cylinders. So we got another thing from Jacob saying, but if Collar does leave, who do you guys think is a good replacement? And that's a great question, Jacob. And I will let AJ be the one to answer that in just a bit. I just want to finish a little bit on my train of thought. In regards to this game, it's because, like I mentioned, you shoot yourself in the foot and then your manager isn't able to bail you out. I think that says a lot. And the poor streak against Tigres continues, AJ. We continue to have poor negative results against Tigres in the games where maybe we should have been doing better. And I think you mentioned it before, that we beat them, but it took us penalties to get to that point. And so something's got to change and drastically if it's not, so we'll have to wait and see. But anything else to add on in regards to this this recap?
Not really. No.
Yeah, no. I think we said it perfectly. It's positive. It's positive signs, but wrapped up in everything, it still feels a little bit of a disappointment, right? Because you had it there. It was in your hands, and you just you let it go, and that's the frustrating part about it. But hopeful that this next game against Pachuca is going to be better. Hopefully this Tigres game was a learning curve for some of these ladies. But we'll see. I mean, AJ, you can tell me more, but I mean, how many more games do we have left in the season? I think it's like about 7, 6.
We've got about, we have 6 games left in the season.
6 games left. I mean, and you're talking about Pachuca, and after that's 5. So, I mean, it's really coming down to the crunch, It's crunch time already for America. And look, it should have started a long time ago. But if it's, if you're going to build some momentum, now is the perfect time to do so. And we'll see how far this team is capable of getting. But again, I guess no promises can be made in regards to that aspect. But again, America Family draw 2-2 at the Azteca. AJ, how did you like the ladies at the Azteca?
They still need to get accustomed to it. And it just boggles my mind to how the women's team has to reside in Coapa, and we cannot play in the Estadio Azteca. The one reason I can really think it's because we're sharing 2 teams there, that being the men's team, Club America, and Cruz Azul. And then I feel like if there was, you have to include the women's team as well for Cruz Azul, who currently play in el Estadio 12 de Diciembre, which is where Cruz Azul Hidalgo plays at. That's 4 teams you got a home there, and that pitch is not going to look great. It's just a shame just to see how you get to play in such a beautiful stadium like the Estadio Azteca, and the women's don't get that much time to get accustomed to it because the stadium size in Coapa, well, the length of the pitch is not even the stadium. Compared to the Azteca, it's completely different. And it's difficult on the ladies to get themselves accustomed to it. We've had some great results at the Azteca there. Like the one where we thrashed Morelia, if I'm not mistaken, was 13-1 or so, 12-1. Amazing. But then you didn't have horrible results like last season against Rayadas at home. I don't know. They look great. Just like I said, it's the silly mistakes that cost us. But all, they look good out there. And I'm just happy to just see them play back where their true home is at.
Definitely. And then here's to the ladies playing more games at the Azteca. I know we have the Clásico Nacional in 2 weeks. That is going to be at the Estadio Azteca as well. Well, not 2 weeks, because technically tomorrow will be a week from the Clásico Nacional. So interesting stuff, AJ. Very interesting stuff coming up for America. Alrighty then. Let's recap a little bit of what happened against Tijuana, because again, this is a game that we thought that the ladies definitely have a possibility to get the job done. But AJ, remind us how that game ended for our ladies.
We lost 2-1 at Tijuana at home. And if I look at the stats and all that, I just think to myself, How? What did we do? How? It's so frustrating. That's the point where more people, before the season, they were just like, fuera Collar. Get him out of our club. And they just showed it right there because everyone just scratched their heads, and we're wondering, how do we lose to Tijuana? No discredit to them. They're a team that's fighting for that spot in the Liguilla, and we're currently tied with them in the table. If I'm looking at the table right now, currently, I think we're tied with 3 teams for 8th place right now, and that's not great. Well, about 3 teams. So Tijuana, Mazatlán, Toluca. They're all fighting for that 8th place spot, and we are in 8th. We're just holding on to that.
Oh my God, this is not good.
And it's not great because when I looked at that earlier, I got way more scared because I'm just wondering, what are we doing wrong this season? And we were leading at first, and I feel like this is the same exact situation that happened against Toluca. We scored first, and then we end up balling it and ended up making silly mistakes. We scored in the 4th minute thanks to a great goal by Maya Pelayo. And in the 45th minute, we ended up giving away a penalty, which I feel like is this team's Achilles heels. Any foul that happens in a box, it's always going to end up in a penalty, no matter what. Then the 51st minute, Luis Alvarado just said to Gaby Lozada, you should just not be in the starting 11 anymore because it felt like she did not want to defend and she did an absolute golazo against us. And we ultimately lost that match.
Yeah, I mean, it was rough. It was rough to watch. It's even rougher to kind of read on the timeline because you thought, well, we got the lead. This should look promising. And then you saw kind of all dwindle down for Toluca. I mean, not Toluca, excuse me, the Tijuana victory. Yeah, I mean, what more could we say but frustrating all around? And I think, we talked about it off camera before the Tigres game, and we were even more skeptical coming into the match against Las Felinas in the Estadio Azteca because of the result against Tijuana. We thought, could this be kind of the thing that kind of drowns this team at the end? But they have some fight, they have some resilience still left in them. I mean, you saw it against Tigres, and so they were able to kind of wash away the game of Tijuana and focus on the new rival, and hopefully they're doing that game in and game out. Because it's not, yeah.
It's just the last couple games now, especially with where we are in the table. We've given up so many points in the regular season, which should have been victories. And now it's at this crucial point where I truly feel like we cannot drop any points. If we get, I'd say, more than 3 ties, I think that's going to be it for America Femenil. Because every other team right below us, they're fighting for those spots. And the way our games are looking, our last games for the season it's not going to be fun.
Yeah, look, I think it's no doubt about it. Collado is on his way out. There's no saving this man's job. And especially if we don't make the playoffs. I mean, it's simple as that. Liguilla is a major bust, like unheard of so far within this institution when it comes to the ladies. And so you gotta, you gotta fix it. You gotta clean house if that's the case. But the Tijuana game was unacceptable. Again, the players not looking like themselves. You get a sense of like something's still going on, but it's just frustrating all around. Jacob saying, I think Goyard should have left a long time ago, and I think
he should have left last season. After we got humiliated about it, he should have been gone. I just feel like that the sporting director, they're at America Femenil, I think they're just scared to just let him go. I don't understand why we're so scared because I feel like his time should have been up. I feel like after that season title that we had, I think after the season or 2 later, he just should have been gone. But here we are now. We're still with him.
All right, AJ, if you were the sporting director and you had to fire Collado, how would you do it? Word by word.
We appreciate everything you've done for this institution, but I'm sorry. You got to go.
All right. Okay.
It's short, but like the thing, it's difficult because he's done a lot since day one in this institution. We've went through good times and tough times with Leonardo Cuellar. He's helped us make history by becoming one of the few teams in this league to lift up that trophy. We had a great round of players who've had amazing moments throughout their career, and it's thanks to him because he's done a lot for this club. He's trained them every single day in and day out, comes to every single game with the intention to win games. But the results are not appearing in this season, and we need those results now. And because we have not hit those goals, it's time to part ways, pretty much.
Okay. I think Jacob liked your
Nah,
firing of him.
I should have gone like a little script. If you told me this beforehand, I would have done my mini script, and it's like, okay, this is what I would have said to him.
The way I would have done it, I'd be like, in the middle of practice, I would have called someone and be like, yo, send Cuellar my way. And
See me in my office.
Cuellar, see me in my office right now. And so, Cuellar will come up and be like, take a seat. Be like, look, you've done some amazing job, some amazing things. And there's only one thing I can tell you. And I'll hand him a piece of paper, slide it over to him. And it's just a blank piece of paper with the hashtag Fuera Cuellar. And I'm gonna be like, it's time. Pack your bags. Don't even finish practice. I'm gonna need you to clock out early for us today.
It's gonna feel like the news that they gave to Marchesín when he was in practice, and I think they were like, "You're leaving. You're going to Porto," and just broke down in tears. I think at this point, because I feel like Cuellar shows no human emotions whatsoever, regardless if it's a win or a loss, he's just gonna be like, "Okay."
He's no longer just Cuellar. He's robot Cuellar because he shows no emotions out there.
He doesn't. Like
Jacob saying, "Can you imagine Piojo at América Femenil? Is that even possible though?"
I don't know. Because I'm pretty sure there's a manager or two in this league that has had no experience in coaching the women's side, but because they have experience in coaching the men's side and their U teams, they can do it. If I'm not mistaken, the new manager for Azul Femenil, when they sacked their old coach, he ended up taking the helm. He's doing pretty good. Carlos Perez, he was known for Coach Cruz Azul Hidalgo, did pretty well with them, and look where his team is at now. They're in 4th place, and they're about to make the Liguilla. If I'm not mistaken, it's for the first time in their history. So kudos to them. Piojo, I can see. I just hope to God he does not get into an argument with the referee, because I do not want to imagine what he would say. So,
yeah, I don't think so either. Let's be honest. I don't think we want Piojo anywhere near the ladies' team. Let's be honest. But that would be some entertainment right there. But again, América Femenil drop points at home against Tijuana and ultimately leave all of us with kind of a bitter taste in our mouth because we expected better from them. And then, of course, the game against Tijuana, whilst it was an improvement to the prior game, again, still not the result we were all hoping for. But that kind of gives you guys the recap of what happened for América Femenil in regards to those matches. Now, let's get into the preview of what's going to happen between América and Pachuca. But before we do, AJ, I want to remind everyone that today's episode is brought to you guys by Foot Cult. If you guys haven't done so already, make sure you guys check out footcult.com and go get yourselves some amazing gear. You guys can get yourselves this Eagle Eye Podcast training top, or you can get exactly what AJ is wearing right now, and that is the Foot Cult. Give me the name, AJ. God of Thunder kit. There you go. Such a beautiful kit. And perfect timing right now as the men's, under 23 are going to be playing their pre-Olympic games. You guys can be sporting that. Or the international break is coming up for the men's as well after this weekend is over. So you guys can be sporting that all and around. So make sure you guys go check out footcall.com. Get yourselves 10% off by using the discount code EEP at checkout. And again, that is discount code EEP at checkout to get 10% off all Footcall products. Again, thank you to our sponsors, Footcall, for making this a possibility. Alrighty then, AJ. Any news in regards to Coapa before we kind of jump into the preview?
Not really, actually. It's the first time I think in a while where there hasn't been like any real big news around in Coapa. So there's actually none to report.
Interesting. Quiet times at América. Don't know if that's a good thing or if that's a bad thing. But
I'd say bad thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. It's a bad thing there. That they're gonna start printing hashtag Fuera Cuellar little posters and putting them all over the Coapa installations.
I already have a thought in mind. It's like that little plane that they had when they wanted Wenger out. It's gonna be where it's like fuera Collar. It's gonna ice.
Look, let's make that all happen. All the America Femenil fans that just got stimulated by our government, let's just put that to good use, and let's get ourselves a banner to just fly over the Estadio Azteca whenever America Femenil play and just say hashtag fuera Collar out. I think that's a good way to spend your stimulus check, if you ask me. That is the perfect way to spend that stimulus check. But yeah, no news in and around Coapa, so that means we can just jump straight into the match against Pachuca. AJ, this is a pretty big one. This is an intense one. This is a team that, we've always had a little bit of a, back and forth with in regards to whenever we played against them. I think we've always seen them because, like you mentioned, they were in our group whenever this league was still divided into groups, it'll be interesting to see what the ladies come up with. How do you see America Femenil coming into this one, and how do you think our chances are against Pachuca?
Points are at stake in this. It's one of those games that why I say we cannot afford to drop points in, and I feel like a tie is not even going to be enough as well. Despite Pachuca having gotten the result against Leon, where they're being 2-0, America's definitely need to go into the mindset that we need to win this game. Our playoff hopes are on the line right here, and they're being and it's up for grabs. We're in 8th place, and we need to get a result out of Pachuca immediately. This is a team where in the past they have given us a lot of trouble, but I feel like throughout the years, America has been showing up more into these games and proving that they're the better team against them. Last time we did play against them, we beat them 3-0, and it was a great 3-0 win. And I figured they could replicate that. Result that they had against Pachuca last season. I think they could definitely most do it in this game, but it's going to be difficult considering how poor they've been throughout this entire season. So in this game, it's do or die for the ladies.
Yeah, it's definitely do or die. But hey, we'll see. But correct me if I'm wrong. This game's on a Monday, correct?
It is going to be on a Monday, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, yes.
I'm getting that time right
Monday,
now.
9 p.m.
Yes. Oh, so we got another late game for us on Monday. All right. 6 p.m. Pacific time, 8 Central, 9 Eastern for all of us, all of our friends over there at the East Coast. Pachuca going up against America Femenil. Is this game going to be broadcasted at all, AJ?
Considering Pachuca are playing at home, I don't think so. It's going to be at Fox. It's going to be at Fox Deportes MX. So it's time for me to look on the internet and see if I can find a link.
Time to dive into the
Facebook.
Oh, yeah, we never know. That might be a possibility, but you know what? I think we're going to have to dive into the deep, dark interweb and try to find a link. We usually end up finding a link to like the 3rd Division Polish League. I don't know why, but we always end up finding that. If you guys are interested, we know who the league leaders are in that category. But we'll see. I mean, it's going to be interesting as to whether or not these ladies can come up and, have a good game against Pachuca, walk away with the 3 points. Because like you mentioned, AJ, I don't think a draw is valuable in this one, Jacob going with, can you guys imagine a helicopter fly over the Estadio Hidalgo with a huge sign that says hashtag Fuera Collar? Yes, Jacob, that is a world we want to live in, and that is a stimulus check I am willing to waste on. So let's let me know who I have to talk to in order to get that going. But back to this whole Pachuca game. Obviously, when playing in Estadio Hidalgo, then Pachuca's always been a difficult place to go to. And I think that they're gonna feel like they have some home advantage here against us, knowing that our away form is very poor. Not to say that our home form is any better, but we're talking about an away game here. So, I mean, just how do you think this America side just plans? I'm not even gonna ask you how Collar should go out there. I'm just saying, how do you think what is our best option going out there, starting 11 wise, to go and battle Pachuca for those 3 points?
All right. I'm gonna have Renata Mesharelli starting in goalkeeps. Our back fours be consisted of Selena Valera on the left back side. Our 2 center backs will be Janely Farias and Justin Roy ahead. Right back's gonna be Monica Rodriguez. Our 4 in midfield, it's gonna be Montse Hernandez on the left, Maya Pelayo on the right. I'm gonna have Jennifer Munoz and Eva Gonzalez in midfield, and our forwards are gonna be Daniela Espinosa and Daniela Flores.
The 2 Dannies, I like it. I mean, it's what we have, right?
It's the best we can go with. I know damn well that Guerrero's definitely going to be putting some kind of other starting 11 in there.
Oh, yeah.
Because consistency is an issue with this man when it comes to his lineups, just like the captain's armband. So,
Who will have it this week? Maybe we give it one to the opponents, just like, hey, can you guys hold on to this for us, please? Look, that's the most frustrating thing about this is coming into this game, not knowing really who's going to play. And you know what? I think that kind of resonates on the players as well. I think you don't really have a set starting 11, and you're way deep into this season that you still don't have a starting 11. I feel like that plays a toll to some of these players. Like, you're like, well, why am I working so much hard in training if I'm not even going to get picked, And it's like, well, why am I training so hard to do this if I'm not even going to play this position? I feel like all that kind of unbalances and unsettles the team that we've gotten to the point where it's just like, oh, I made it start 11. Yippee, So, I don't know.
It's a shame because a lot of these players that we have from like last year who play a lot, they haven't played much. Jimenez, since coming back from injury, hasn't been the same Jimenez we've seen when she plays international with the U teams in Mexico or from the previous season. She's always been great. Aguilas, she's just dropped down in her form completely, where she's not the same defender we once saw. Arisbeth Ramos, the player that we got from Dragones and Mexico, she was a striker, and she's a defender, and she's seen zero playing time at all this season. Zara Moreno, she hasn't seen the light of day on the pitch this season at all. Dani Garcia, we praised a lot that how she's the right midfield we've been looking for all this time. She hasn't been playing that much this season, and we're wondering what we're going to do with her. And Renata Huerta, lots of talk about her, lots of hype. A youngster with a lot of potential and talent doesn't even see the pitch as much as well. And it's a shame.
Yeah, look, I mean, we thought we had depth. Turns out that we just had names. For Cuellar, it just seems to be like, well, I have my players, and this is what I'm going to do. I don't know, AJ. I really don't understand what's going on. But, I mean, at this point, like I mentioned it before, it's just weathering the storm, Weathering the storm, see how far this team can get. If we make it into the playoffs, hope for a miracle. If not, then, clean house. Start doing the work now, because I don't even want to imagine if a season like this again was to happen, a mutiny would be upon us because it's just, you're the biggest club in Mexico with the biggest standards, with the biggest kind of expectations that, all of that kind of just, falls over onto the lady side as well. So the fact that you can't uphold to that standard, I mean, something's wrong. And I'm not just talking about Cuellar, I'm talking about the people in charge of this institution from the ladies' perspective. I think that they have to start looking at their jobs as well and thinking, am I doing everything I can in order to help this team succeed? If not, then they should be out of a job as well. It's not just Cuellar. I think that there has to be kind of some work done within the lines because something's got to give for America. We have to be the reigning team. There's no way about it. This is our culture. This is our identity, and so we'll have to wait and see. But back to this game and back to Pachuca, how do you think the ladies have to play against a Pachuca side that is going to be looking to make an upset against us?
It's just the idea that really we should not be making silly mistakes. Those defensive errors, they cannot be happening. We don't want to have a repeat where we foul someone in the box. A penalty is going to be called against us because it seems to just be written in the books every single time. Not say it's scripted, but I just feel like anytime we do some kind of tackle in the final third at the our end, it just ends up really bad. So we really just should not be going for those kind of tackles. If we know we definitely cannot reach that ball, don't go for it. And we just need to hope for the best for our goalkeeper, or just have to position ourselves better. In this case, we cannot give Pachuca any kind of breathing room or any space to give them opportunity to get a goal. Ever since they got Monica Ocampo back, she's just been on fire for this team, and she's essentially the life of this Pachuca side. They have other players as well that are trying to get their flow going, but it's just a lot of players in this Pachuca side can definitely give America a scare. And with America in this case, they need to just really need to wake themselves up and say, this is our playoff hopes on the line, and we need to play at 110%. And we need to do what they do best and just communicate with each other and make those smart decisions and passes and great plays that they can produce on the pitch. We defeated side 3-0 last time. we can get a similar result like that and grab our 3 points to keep our playoff hopes alive. Because if not, things are looking really bleak and it's not really looking great. Because Pachuca, they're hungry to get back into the playoffs. They definitely don't want to be dropping points at home. And Pachuca get everything that they got against America and so should America. And America knows that any team that's either been struggling or they're fighting for a playoff spot, they're gonna give it their all against America.
Yeah, because it's not just crunch time for us; it's crunch time for them as well, and they kind of feel the pressure to try to make it into the playoffs. And we'll have to wait and see. But I think you put it perfectly. You know, we'll have to wait whether or not the ladies respond out onto the pitch. I think that's gonna be the most important thing about it. But again, I mean, it's all gonna come decided down on Monday, and fingers crossed that these ladies can push for a good result.
Mm-hmm.
So now that we're talking about that, what is a good result away at Hidalgo? What's your prediction?
I got going with a 1-0 away win.
1-0 away win. I like it. Optimistic. And a lot of people are going to be like, 1-0 is optimistic. Look, it's been a long season, okay? 1-0 is the most optimistic we can get at this point. But I don't share your optimism, AJ. I think this is going to be 2 points dropped. I think it's another 1-1 draw. It's hard, It's hard to be objective here because on one end you kind of take it for what it is and then from what the results are, and you try to take a step away from everything and try to be as analytical as you can be. And on the other side, your heart is in it and you want to see this team do well, and you believe in them and you trust in this team, and so maybe that side pushes for a little bit more. So I think I balanced myself out a little bit, and I think it's a 1-1 draw, and it wouldn't be the end of the world, but it would mean that again we're just even more in a tighter situation.
It's just really tough because, like I said, this is by no doubt it's the worst season that America Femenil has had, and the results are just showing. In our last 3 games, we have not gotten we have not won. We lost to Atlético San Luis, we lost to Tijuana, and we dropped points against Tigres, which I feel like should have been a win right. It's just not been good. The most goals we have scored this season, it was 3, and that's against Pumas. And the most goals that we have scored away is 2. And they have not been the prettiest of wins away. Away wins are always tough. But with the caliber of the players that we have in this squad, you really should feel like we shouldn't struggle as much. But then when it comes to game time and you're seeing them on the pitch, it's like there's something going on. And I'm understanding what it is. It's difficult just to see because it's tough. When you're playing for a really big institution, you have a season like this, it really wears down onto you. The players feel the pressure. The coaching staff feels the pressure. And the people at the institution that are working behind the scenes are also feeling the pressure because they feel like they're not hitting the goals as they want to that they had at the beginning of the season. It felt like a lot of them had just gone out the window and they just feel like it's far from their grasp. They just can't get a hold of it anymore at this point. As it feels, it just feels like let's just hope for the best and hope these last couple of games we can get the points we need to get into the Liguilla. The Liguilla, that's a whole different story. That's different from the regular season. But right now, it's life or death for this America Femenil side in these last couple of games. And these last couple of games for them, they're really tough. It's Pachuca, Chivas, Santos, Rayadas, Cruz Azul, and Puebla. And to think like teams, example like Santos or Puebla, you have America Femenil fans even just saying to the team, could we even beat them at this point? Because they might get the best out of us. Well, in the case like they might just get, what's the word I'm looking for? They just might perform way better than Mega Femenil, and that's like things you definitely don't want to hear.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, AJ. And look, it's a lot of things to consider coming into this, so we'll have to wait and see what happens Monday. But Jacob going with a 1-0 victory. Dani Espinosa scores.
I can see that, actually.
Let's hope Jacob and you are correct with this 1-0 result. Clean sheet's always important. And Renata Mascherelli back in net. I could see that happening, actually. So we'll see. we'll see. Fingers crossed, and we'll have to wait. But AJ will be covering that game for us, and you guys don't want to miss a second of it. So make sure you guys follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, so you guys can keep up to date with all things Lady Aguilas. And then we'll go minute by minute over on Twitter, so you guys can go over there on Monday. Head over there, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 8 Central, 9 Eastern. That is kickoff time for the ladies. Again, we will try to find you guys a link. If we do, AJ will do his best to get you guys that information as soon as possible. Or if not, then I guess we can all go and watch that third division Polish game, and maybe hopefully catch the ladies on the internet as well. So we'll see. We'll definitely see. But AJ, anything else to add on?
Nope, that's about it.
That is about it. And that's about it for us over here on the Eagle Eye Podcast. Again, another week of mixed emotions, AJ. Another week of mixed emotions. But it's always another week of hashtag Fuera Cuellar. We're going to look into that whole banner and that whole plane. We'll see whether or not we can make that a possibility. Again, thank you to everyone that was out here watching us. Thank you and a huge shout out to Jacob, who's very active on the comment section. We hope that Danny Espinosa scores a goal and dedicates to you and you only, Jacob. Alrighty then, AJ. I think that does it for us. We'll be back next week to talk all things Clásico Nacional. That's right. The ladies are going to be coming, and we're going to be having a special guest, maybe 2. Who knows? We'll see. We're going to try to plan it out. But again, thank you guys so much for you guys' support, for listening, and for supporting the ladies. I think that's the most important thing to do, right, in a tough season. It's not jumping ship. It's battling it through with the hard times with them. And look, at the end of the day, I have faith and I have hope that this institution will turn it around. I don't expect it to happen this season, but I do expect a huge summer for us. And I guess, like I just keep mentioning, we got to weather this out. We got to weather this out, and then we'll have to wait to see what happens. But again, thank you guys so much for everything. You guys stay safe out there. Please wear your masks. We'll be back next week, like I said, to preview the Clásico Nacional and all of that good stuff. Until then, take care. And as always, Arriba America. Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was another production of the Eagle Eye Podcast, the #1 source for all things Club America in English. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Eagle Eye Podcast and get all the latest news and coverage. And subscribe to our podcast wherever it is you may listen.